Words do matter. Your brain's recording this. It's so important.
Girl, I'm like, oh, this is a chocolate covered strawberry,
Oh
and
my
my
God.
brain, yeah, I hate to say it, it does go there. Chocolate is my trigger. It always has been. It probably always will be. And that's just something I can't moderate very well.
I would continually get stomach issues. And I spent hundreds of dollars on different supplements and protocols trying to fix it.
Listening to your body, how your body responds to these foods. That's okay. Everybody is individualized in their diet approach, and it shouldn't be a one size fits all.
Welcome to the Hot Takes and Hard Truths podcast, where we believe in unfiltered health, healing with real food, and unapologetic freedom that can only be achieved through the salvation of Jesus Christ. Your hosts, Jen and Nora, are close friends who found each other online despite the constant noise within the healthy living social media space. Their passion for natural health and Jesus, and their penchant to lean into the hard topics of the day, led them to want to share their thoughts and ideas with others who are also in search for meaning and answers. Please welcome your hosts, Jen and Nora.
Hi, how are you doing? Today's episode is kind of a follow-up of last week's episode where we discussed about the macronutrient of carbohydrates, who could benefit from it, and why would you even need it? Do people need it? All those kind of things. So if you missed it, make sure you go back and watch that one, because now Nora and I are going to share our experiences of bringing healthy whole food carbohydrates back into our diets. So I guess, Nora, you just started technically, right? Like, where are you at with all this?
I have been more focused lately on the whole food carbs. And this is what you and I have, I think this whole week, we've been focusing primarily our text messages, our voice memos. This is what the topic has been. So this is why we are recording this today. It's also a follow-up for last week's podcast episode. But this has been our text messaging. So that's why we decided to record this topic today.
Yeah.
I have just started to introduce the fruits in a smart manner for me, the sugar addict. And I decided to see how my body would respond. So I got this little CGM placed exactly a week ago. So I have a week's worth of data where I have been experimenting and playing around quite a bit. So yes, I did the carnivore thing. I've been doing carnivore off and on. I've been getting off of it, adding in, unfortunately, the processed mess that did nothing for my mental health or my body. And my body had responded badly. And so I'm kind of following your lead here on some of the whole carbs, but still trying to recognize my triggers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, brand new at this, playing with completely clean carbs.
Yes. And so something I talked about in my stories today, I would love to find another way to say this besides I'm bringing carbs back in my diet. Because,
Yes.
and I don't know exactly, I guess that looks more like I'm bringing whole food vegetables and fruits back in. It's just carbs is shorter. Because we were
I like
having
the whole
carbs.
foods. Like,
Yeah.
we're bringing in whole foods because that's what we're doing, and we're not, carbs, sugar, they're just whole foods, and I think that's the key point here.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are those people who have that sugar addiction mentality. And I know you've said for yourself that is something you
Big
feel you
time.
have. So there are those people that they say, I'm bringing carbs back in. And when they overgeneralize it like that, in their brain, it allows them the junk food. So they go and get the gummy bears and the Sour Patch Kids and, all the things that have more than just the carbs. It's like the corn syrup and the stuff you can't
Complex.
pronounce and excess amount of sugar. So to find a better way to categorize this, I think is a really important part in this journey for anyone who does feel that they want to test out whole foods. There we go. Okay. So
Yes.
this is going to be practice for me too, because I said that in my stories today. I need a different way to say this. So
Words matter.
words do matter. Your brain's recording this. It's so important. So yeah, I think that's one of the things with some people when they're carnivore and they're trying to bring in, I'm going to say it because they say it, carbohydrates. That's what happens. They go out off the rails and they have all the other things, But in their mind, it's not definitive in the sense of whole foods. Like, why can you stay on carnivore? What is the boundary that you're putting there? Some of them say, oh, it's only foods from animal products, but then they're having protein powders that have stevia and cocoa and, electrolytes and other things that have other ingredients. So, no, technically, you know what I mean? Like, if you were
It's not completely clean. I hate to say it. It's
right.
really not. The protein powders, and yeah, I was starting to allow myself more of those because I thought they were the better option. But for me personally, it's a trigger. It's much different than berries, which said I've been on this berry kick lately. But when I throw in that chocolate protein powder, girl, I'm like, "Oh, this is a chocolate covered strawberry,"
Oh,
and my brain, yeah, I hate to say it, it does go there.
and that's for you to know. Like for me, it
Yes,
doesn't. I just finished a mint chocolate one with a little bit of half and half, and I feel full. I can feel
yeah,
the satiety. So I'm not going to go and binge and be sick. I'm just indulging in the fact that it tasted incredible and I'm happy and I'm full and that's it. But there are people like your case where, hey, your trigger, like even though it can be a helpful substitute from time to time to have that.
yeah, better option for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. It's not one for you. So, we all have our, but it doesn't mean you're eliminating all protein.
Correct. No,
That's where
not at all.
yeah, that's what I mean is when people say this one carbohydrate threw me off and now I can't have any carbs. Well, this protein powder threw you off, but you're not throwing away protein. Like,
Not in the slightest. My shrimp aren't a trigger for me, but you give me something with a sweeter taste, and chocolate is my trigger. It always has been, it probably always will be, and that's just something I can't moderate very well.
yeah, and that's okay.
But I recognize it. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's the big key is that you recognize the individual aspect about it and that it's not just protein is bad, right? I mean, I don't know anybody
Correct.
that would say that, but I'm using that example because it is so extreme, right? Like everybody knows protein is important to eat and to consume for your body. Anyways, I don't want to go down that hole. I'm trying to be careful on this. But in all reality, I try to be sensitive to people in those situations. And if I'm wrong, feel free to comment and let me know. If you're like, no, you're wrong, there's a whole different, and I'm open to conversations about this. That's where I'm at. I'm not dogmatic. I'm exploring. I'm trying to understand both sides of the fence. So, yeah.
And for me, the whole adding more whole foods in, I have to be careful because with my bariatric surgery, I can only fit so much. And so I do still prioritize the protein and I have to be mindful of the snacking because old habits do die hard.
Mhm.
And when I'm hungry, maybe I should eat more protein for my meal instead of prioritizing the fruits and the veggies instead. But that's just me. So instead of snacking, I need to eat an earlier meal.
Have you ever tried essential amino acids supplement?
Mm-mm. No.
That would be interesting to play with. So, those supplements is basically the amino acids of protein. But
Okay.
with your past surgery, if you're not able to consume, like if protein fills you up too much and you're not able to get enough of it, if you supplement
Yeah.
with essential amino acids, then you're getting the important parts of protein. That's why protein's important, is essential amino acids. So if you're taking the supplement form of it because you can't consume enough of it, and that also helps if someone's not digesting protein well, you can take essential amino acids and then your body gets the building blocks that it needs. Be somewhat of
Okay.
research and see into. Yeah,
I'm all about experimenting.
that's what we're here for. So, hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and tap that like button and hit subscribe because it seriously helps get this message out to more people who are tired of the mainstream nonsense and actually want real answers about their health. And if you know someone who needs to hear this stuff, make sure you go ahead and share it with them too. All right, let's get back to the show. For myself, what I've been doing, I don't remember dates very well, but I was carnivore. I was keto, backup. I was low carb, then I was keto, then I was carnivore, that typical process everybody does. But throughout that whole time of keto and carnivore, which was about 5-ish years, I think, something, if I had to put a ballpark around it, I would continually get stomach issues. And I spent hundreds of dollars on different supplements and protocols trying to fix it. I would get this pain right in here that would be at about 1 to 2 hours after I ate, and it would last about 3 hours, and I'm like paralyzed on my bed, just curled in the position. If I stood up, the pain would come back. If I laid down, the pain was fine. So I did a lot of protocols like aloe vera, slippery elm, DGL, all these things to help rebuild the stomach lining because it seemed like it was kind of an ulcer situation. And then it would get better, and then it would get worse, and then it would get better, and it kept going back and forth. So maybe it was stress related too. I'm not going to deny that. But when I was carnivore, it got a lot worse. I started getting histamine issues. I didn't know back then that it was histamine intolerance until I did my research this year when it got really bad. Perimenopause, estrogen fluctuations, all of that plays a role in histamine. So I said, okay, let me play with this and start bringing some whole food carbs. My husband was the first one doing it, eating the rice. The oatmeal we buy is glyphosate free, like really healthy quality oatmeal. The fruits, and at first I was nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to check your insulin. And he was great. His numbers were fantastic. And
he was feeling good?
And he's feeling good.
Because I know he's got some stomach gut issues,
correct?
So.
Yeah, he has ulcerative colitis, and people are always floored when I say when he did carnivore, it did not help him. It made it worse. When he went plant-based, still having meats, but more plants and grains, meaning the rice and the oatmeal and stuff, it calmed it down. So I was just like, and people say, well, he's a guy, he works out and everything. It's like, yes, he does. So I treaded lightly and started about last year bringing in little bits of vegetables first. Things that I was not scared of. You know, things that I weren't going to throw me off the rails. My broccoli, my green beans, my cauliflower rice, like all those kinds. Fermented foods. But this year is when I started bringing in a little bit more. A lot more fruit, a lot more sourdough. Like I would do a little at a time. And I am feeling incredible. No brain fogged. I haven't worn a CGM yet. I'm going to. It's coming in the mail. Thanks to you. My blood work is actually really good. And better than...
That's the telltale sign.
Yeah, better than when I was on keto. So I'm still waiting for some lab markers. So I'm not going to disclose them right now, but I will on one of my videos. It's crazy how good I feel. So that's where I'm
awesome.
at, is I'm basing on how I feel, how my anxiety is, all that kind of stuff. My size, you know, I look at the scale, it fluctuates 1 to 3 pounds, which is completely normal. So I'm not obsessing over that. I'm fitting in shorts that I haven't fit in a while. So it's like, yay! Things are going right. You just got to do it right.
And not go overboard, I'm sure. You're still mindful of what you're intaking, and like you said, focusing on whole foods and the chemical-free oatmeal and the glyphosate-free oatmeal, and
yeah,
that's
for sure.
the key we want to put out there today.
Yeah.
We're playing with the whole foods. And so for you, it was your gut troubles that you decided to, and you weren't feeling optimal. So you wanted to play around with the carbs, especially after your husband had such a great experience with this?
So actually, I'm glad you said that. My reason is part of it is just I missed it, and I know it's not inherently bad, the whole foods. It just, I was trying to do a ketogenic protocol for my epilepsy, and things have been great. So in my understanding, from what I've seen with research, is you shouldn't have to stay on a therapeutic diet for life. Otherwise, like that, it just doesn't make sense. You're not going to stay on something to heal. If it's healing you, you should be able to get off. That's where I'm getting at. So I just missed having, like, my kid, he's getting older, and I want to be able to enjoy things with him. You know, if we want to go out for a scoop of ice cream, or if that's a rare case, that's not my main thing. But like, it's summer and there's fruits, and I want to have a nice fruit salad with him, whatever the case is. So there was that, but the main thing also was my adrenals. When I got my cortisol tested, I don't have a good curve, even though I've done all the circadian rhythm stuff. I've been doing it for years. The past 3 years, I have prioritized morning sunlight. I have prioritized getting vitamin D, going for walks, things that are calming. But my cortisol curve was basically like that. And it was low. So, stage 2 adrenal issues. I needed to release stress from my body, and stress is not just mental, it's also being in ketosis and all that. So, carbs are known. There's many studies. Carbs are known to help with cortisol issues. So I said, well, okay, that's the next thing I'm working on now. Like I've been working on my epilepsy, my PCOS, my insulin resistance. All right, let's try this out. But the key thing is you can't go straight from carnivore to eating 100, 200, 300 grams of carbs. You got to ease into it. So, and we talked about this in the last video, so I'm not going to repeat it all. But that's what I've been doing over the past year, is slowly bringing in some of that stuff. And now finding this year, I handle some of the higher glycemic stuff really well. I'm eating figs now. Figs are pretty high in carbs. You get 3 little figs like that, and that's, I think 3 or 4 actually, is about 30 grams of carbs right there. The cherries, the berries, the bananas, the apples, the kiwis. I've been on a huge kiwi kick for a while. It's starting to kind of fade off. But yeah, I feel good and calm. I don't feel as stressed out as often.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Listening to your body, how your body responds to these foods. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to say also, just because I'm doing it, you're doing it, doesn't mean everybody in the world needs to do it. Right? Like, we are all so different. We all have our different issues that we're dealing with. So if you are carnivore right now, or you are keto right now, whatever plant like category you want to put yourself in, and you're feeling good, don't change. Don't worry about it. Like, explore and research and learn. But just because we're doing it doesn't mean you have to, right?
And you weren't feeling optimal. I haven't been feeling optimal. So we're just starting to explore other avenues. And that's okay. It's everybody is individualized in their diet approach, and it shouldn't be a one size fits all. You're able to handle more carbs. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'll ever be there yet, but finally I feel now, despite my sugar addiction, I feel like I have so much more freedom right now. I can go out and enjoy things. I had a girls' night a couple nights ago. I had some hard cheeses, I had some pickles. It was a charcuterie board, and there was 0 glucose spike. I was able to handle some of these. They were still whole carbs, whole foods, excuse me, whole foods on the charcuterie board, and it was great. I didn't just have to limit myself.
What were some of
I
the
didn't
other
stress
whole
about it.
foods on the board?
Olives, pickles, lots of cheeses. There was a stone mustard. There were some meats. So I don't usually allow deli meats in my diet, but they were there. I didn't stress about it, and that's all that was offered on this charcuterie. So I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And I didn't limit myself just because I was going out. So,
Yeah, because once your body gets to a healthy state, it knows how to get rid of the stuff it should get rid of. If it's not like overwhelmed, that's how I think. And I'm still learning on this. I want to say, I'm not a doctorate in this right? I am on this journey just like everybody else, where I want to understand both sides. Like, I feel like in order to justify whatever camp you're in, you should research heavily the opposite camp and continually be able to disprove that. So for me, it's like, okay, I've been in this heavy animal-based lifestyle for so long. I want to understand the vegan or the vegetarian, why, besides the whole animals issue, what makes sense about that, right? Why is it my son's jiu-jitsu professor, who has been vegan for 5 years, has an incredible body composition and her blood markers all look great? I can't deny that. Why?
yeah.
Why is that working for her? Versus some carnivores, why is it working for them? It's, I don't know. I want to know, but I don't. So I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just, I don't want to be dogmatic.
Well, the data point. You brought up her looks, how she feels, her blood work. And I want to say numbers don't lie. For me, with this experimenting, I had more carbs yesterday because I went to the blasted grocery store. Don't do that, apparently.
When you're hungry, no.
When I was hungry, yes. So, I started the day, I had some raw milk, I had a few berries for my snack, and then I snacked a little more than I should. So, point being, I had more carbs, more whole foods, excuse me, than I normally do. So my glucose was elevated, and I woke up this morning feeling more refreshed, more calm. I wasn't anxious. I've slept like crap all week, and I've got the data to show it. Just a lot of stress, a lot of high stress. My glucose was bottomed out. And while I thought, ooh, that's a good thing, my numbers are super low, I wasn't sleeping at all. And then last night I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, my numbers were elevated. But wait a second, I got the best night's sleep I've gotten in probably 10 nights. And I have all this data. I had more carbs than normal. My heart rate didn't go up yesterday. And it's been really, I'm trying not to obsess over this new, shiny new thing that I'm trying out that everybody's been doing lately. Yes, it's the new shiny thing. But, speaking back to the previous episode we've done,
Yeah.
but it's been neat gathering this data. And then I talked to you about it. And I was talking to, yes, Chat GPT. I go to him. And we were discussing stress and glucose and carbs and adrenals, like you mentioned, and fight or flight, and how some people, maybe carnivore works so well for some of these people because they aren't living in fight or flight.
Yeah.
I have been for years. And that might be why they are so wildly successful. And I mentioned when I did carnivore and when I was successful, I wasn't stressed to this max. But then when the stressors kicked in, it stopped being so successful. And that is why I started playing around with adding in these whole foods, primarily for fertility,
Mhm.
because I know the stress has affected my fertility. It's affected my sleep. So what else is there
Yeah.
that I can do? And realizing we want a healthy curve with our glucose
Mhm.
led to better sleep, which leads to healing, which leads to improved adrenals, thyroid, and
Yeah.
then sex hormones.
Yeah. I'm so excited
It's
for you to see where this goes for you. I really am. It's incredible the sacrifices people will take in order to stay in the camp that they're in. But you are venturing outwards instead of staying dogmatic. I am a carnivore. I am a whatever. It's like, no, I just want to balance my body and be healthy, even if that means
I
I'm
want to
not.
feel good.
Yeah, you want to feel good and you
I
want to
want to feel
balance
good.
sex hormones to hopefully have your future baby and all those
Yeah.
kind of things. So I'm really, really excited for you in the future. And I love that you mentioned it. Yeah, for some people, it might work because they don't live in that constant fight or flight. They don't have that high stress. So, that it might be okay for them. I don't know. We don't have any long-term studies with any of this stuff, right? So, but majority of women, majority of us do have a lot of stress. We do, whether it's even if it's not mental stress. There's the physical stress of the environmental toxins. There's the physical stress. I know clients I've had who are cardio bunnies. Like they're working all the time. They're working out all the time, either running, cardio, exercising, CrossFit. And when they come to me
That's
with
a
their
lot of stress.
they're like, I eat healthy and I do workouts, and I ask them how often. 6 days a week for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I'm like, plus their walks, plus what I said, honey, you need to slow it down. So stress is a big piece that I think is harder to address than what foods we can eat. You know what I mean? It's easier to say, I'm only going to eat fill in the blank than say, I'm going to address this trauma from the past. And I think we talked about this last time, now that I think about it.
Yes.
That sounded familiar. But it's just
It's a
true.
whole, we're coming back. It's a big circle for us.
It is.
We're tying it all in.
And I think that's one of the things you and I bonded on too, is like both of us with fertility struggles, and we felt like we were doing the right thing. Why isn't it working for us? Why are, oh God, forgive me for saying this, but why is it the obese, unhealthy women are getting pregnant, but then we're doing everything right and we're not.
Yep.
And part of it is this stress factor. Like maybe they're calming their stress hormones by eating all the junk foods. Doesn't mean metabolically they're healthy, but they're addressing the stress. And for us, it's like we need to do that too. Not with the junk food,
So
but
it's a funny thing you bring that up. My biggest thing when I used to scan the NICU babies was, why are all these drug addicts having babies? Why are they so fertile? They're not stressed.
yeah.
Someone brought that up to me. They don't have a care in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're high as a kite. I don't even know if I can say that on here, but
I'm sure
they're
it'll
high
be
as a
fine.
kite, and they're just blissfully unaware, and they're just enjoying life in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
But that really resonated with me. Someone said that. I mean, I used to scan these babies 2018, 2019, and that hit me. And it's always been in the back of my mind. These people weren't stressed, yet they were still injecting toxins, yet they were still getting pregnant. But the stress was the key factor.
Yeah. I know. It's wild, huh? And again, it's harder to fix because you got to face your past and you've got to work on bad habits and that stress response when something triggers you. What is your stress response? You got to learn to breathe through it. That's been my big other thing I've been doing is physiological size. So, like taking a deep breath into here and then you take another quick breath and then you breathe out slowly, but trying to activate your vocal cords right here as well because then that stimulates vagus nerve. So I've been
Oh,
doing
wow.
that 5 to 10 times a day, whether I'm stressed or not, and I feel it. So a lot of these things I've been doing between adding the carbs in and the physiological sigh, other nervous system regulation techniques, a lot of those things, I think they all work together, right? And then gut health. We talked about gut health last time. That's what I've been working on. I'm waiting for my gut test results to come in and see where things are at. But yeah, I think all of that is playing a role together with it. So
Now, let me ask you, you brought up your cortisol levels and whatnot. You read my Dutch test. I did a Dutch test through you. Do you recall I was pretty even keel too, wasn't I?
I pulled yours up because I did not remember. And your cortisol pattern was also pretty. So you woke up with high cortisol and then it started going down through the day. So you didn't have like a down here, get up, go down, and go across, and then slowly go down. Yours was just up here and it was like, "Mrr." So yeah, yours was also very similar to mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to read that portion of your synopsis and I was so confused. I was like, am I bad or am I good?
Yeah. It was.
But that's just me not understanding.
No, that's fine. I remember one of the other things we were talking about too is with the fertility aspect, like why would carbs help the fertility part? And you were mentioning something you researched with ChatGPT, which was also part of why I started changing things last year, is a lot of things I discovered is the connection with glucose and progesterone and T4 and T3 conversion, thyroid conversion. Do you want to do you
I
want to
can
read?
read that little
Yeah.
portion real quick. So you actually need glucose to make progesterone, to convert thyroid hormones, to sleep deeply, to ovulate, to feel calm. And when you're constantly running on empty, whether it's from undereating, over restricting carbs, or just surviving on stress hormones, your body starts cutting corners. It's not going to bother making a baby or balancing your mood if it thinks you're in a famine.
I loved that. That was worded really well. It's exactly like that's one of the things in our luteal phase when we're making primarily progesterone is we tend to get hungrier during that time, right? So it's like everybody talks about the PMS cravings and stuff, but we
Like me
actually
right now. Okay.
yeah, but yeah, like I knew. Yeah. I don't know where you're at, but it's actually okay to have 1 to 200 calories more during that time. And that's one of the things where some women will take wild yam
Yes.
extract and it will support their progesterone levels. Well, what is wild yam? But it's a carb. So what is it about sweet potatoes that help it? So some people will just eat the sweet potatoes, and they balance things out and it's fine. So yeah, if you can get it from a food source, fantastic. But your luteal phase, if it's short, meaning less than 10 days, if you're not getting a good temperature rise, basal body temperature rise, if you're getting brown bleeding before your period or at the end of your period, you most likely have low progesterone and need to support it well. And that's where with my clients, I'll look at that and say, well, what are you eating? And if it's primarily carnivore, that might not be serving them. It might serve someone else, but it's not serving them. And then they need to shift things. So now let's say that
I
client,
always had a short luteal phase
yes.
on carnivore.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. And like, let's say the person says, I have sugar addiction. What do I do? It's, well, now we gotta work on it. Why do you have that addiction? Is there a gut imbalance that's causing that addiction? Is there trauma? Is there issues in the past you gotta fix? It's not just, well, I can't have that because I'm gonna fall off the rails. It's, well, let's work on that. Let's figure out why so you can have it and can support it. You don't have to live that way forever.
And knowing, I don't know if this is right to say, but how about serving sizes? Because we can go overboard on anything. I know I can, especially when I'm hungry. I will turn to sweet cherries instead of the shrimp I was making last night. And I will get full faster on the sweet cherries when I should have prioritized dinner. Anyways, is it safe to say we still need to look at a serving size for carbs so that people with sugar addictions shouldn't go overboard? Or what are your thoughts on that?
With the whole food carbs?
Yes, the whole food
Yeah.
carbs only.
So serving size can definitely help for some people. I think if you do tend towards that sugar addiction, food addiction aspect, yeah, having this cup measures 1 cup of whatever, or they have those bowls and those cups that you can use that this is 1 cup. Have you seen these?
Oh, no, but now I'm going to
I'll
invest.
find them. I'll find them and we'll put them in the show notes. There's bowls that
Great.
show this is 1 cup. This bowl measures 1 cup. This bowl measures 2 cups. So then you don't have to be measuring every single time. You just know if I'm going to have a cup of cherries, it's going to fill this and that's it. So that's really helpful for some people. Other people might say, well, I'll just go back for a second cup. Like their brain doesn't shut off. Well, then maybe you avoid that specific food. Meaning, if cherries are making you go off the rail, don't have the cherries. Don't blame carbs, but don't have the cherries. And maybe try something else. Maybe apples don't tend to be as sweet as pink lady apples, right? There's also all the kinds of apples. So just because one set of apples...
They were on sale. I had to give them a try this week.
Oh, no. I'm just picking cherries because you mentioned them. I'm just, that's what it is. We can pick a different food.
Not a norm. It's not a norm for me.
We can pick a different food if it sounds like I'm picking on you.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, that's the thing is, again, I go back to the whole thing where I'm not going to say a name, sorry, I almost did, where a protein powder sets you off the rails, you're not going to eliminate protein. If heavy cream sets you off the rails, you're not going to eliminate fat because food is not just merely its macronutrient. I'm going to repeat this until I'm blue in the face because it's driving me bonkers. So portions can help for some. Now, this next part I am still learning about. I am not an expert in, but I have been hearing if you limit your protein to less than 15% of your calories and you keep fat extremely low, not like lower, but low, like 50 grams, I believe it is, of fat or less, I might be wrong, then calories, you can eat as many whole food carbs as you want and it's not going to impact it negatively. That's where some of these people, like some of my friends who are women, people keep saying the men are doing the sugar diet. Women who are having high carb, low fat are actually thriving well for now. And they're eating plenty of calories and not gaining weight. So you don't have to do the macro counting. And the only reason she did do macro counting was to show people what she's eating, but she doesn't have to do it daily. So I don't know enough about that to speak on it, but I didn't want to ignore it either. It's something I'm trying to learn and understand. My mind lately with some of the stuff I've been learning is completely blown. I'll give you just one preview is I was expecting, with all the carb eating, all the whole food that I'm eating, which equates to 100 grams of carbs or more, I lowered my fat. Okay. I am not downing bacon and ribeyes and all that. Like, I had 2 pieces of bacon this morning and I haven't had bacon in a while. It was just like, well, that smells good. So, lowering the fat, lowering the protein, and having all this, my insulin, my fasting insulin was a 3. And functionally, it should be between, we like between a 2 and a 5 or 6. For me,
So
one
you're
is, yeah, my fasting insulin on keto and carnivore was constantly like 5 or 6. So my mind, when I read that, I was just blown. I was expecting at least an 8, 9, or 10. I really was. Because,
wow.
so whatever I've done to fix it, it's working. And I'm not getting bloated. Everything is good.
Are
So
you, could it be you fueling your body and your body is just not in a stress state anymore?
I think so.
Because that's the rabbit hole I'm going down right now because my whole goal right now in life is just to reduce stress.
Yeah,
And so is your body just in a relaxed state because it's being fed what you specifically need? Maybe?
it very well could be. I mean, one of the blood markers I look at is like a sodium to potassium ratio. And mine still does signal that there's cortisol issues, but I wasn't expecting it to be better this quickly. It takes a long time to fix that. So, but I do think you're on the right track where the stress and the aspect of, hey, I feel like having a piece of fruit right now and I'm going to, or I have all the fruit and I'm just happy and chill. I'm not stressing about, oh my gosh, I have this craving for fruit, but I'm not supposed to because I'm carnivore and because of the high glucose and the sugar. I'm just like, my body wants fruit. I'm eating fruit. That's it. So I think you're onto something.
I'm excited to keep up with this experiment. Speaking of experiments, something I wanted to touch on because we've been discussing glyphosate, the food pyramid, carbs, and whatnot. So, my first day on the CGM, I guess it had been 24 hours because you told me to give it 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a farmer's market hungry, big no no, thinking that the farmer's market would have whole food options. And I wanted to support the local food trucks. And they had a bagel with sausage, egg, and cheese. I have not had a bagel, I can't tell you how many years. But I assumed since this food truck was known for its bagels that they would be homemade bagels. And I text you an hour later freaking out because my glucose went off the charts.
Yeah.
And did I feel horrible? No, I expected to. But knowing that number, yeah, I did start to get a little worried, and you told me to go for a walk,
Mm-hmm.
and that was fascinating to me because I got my body moving instead of sitting after a meal, which I'm very guilty of that. It's been a goal of mine to walk after meals, but I walked, and I forced myself out there in 100-degree weather, and my numbers went back into the normal range. So that told me right there that that bagel was not homemade. It was full of Lord knows how many chemicals, glyphosate, and so I had
Because,
made
real
uh-huh.
quick, I'm interrupting you because I want you to share also, you compared it to your homemade bread. Were you
Yes.
going to get
So
there?
I had
Okay.
made
Go ahead.
Yep, yep. So I had made buns from scratch because I have been looking at everything in the store and I have been really adamant about if we're going to have bread, I'm going to make it. I'm going to know what's in it. It's going to be organic. No, I'm not milling my own flour yet. That's next step. But for what was it? I had a late lunch that day to give my body just some time to calm down and I did. So I think 7 hours later, we had an early breakfast. 7 hours later, I had a burger with just my homemade bun and then some ground beef. And I monitored my glucose after that. I didn't have a single spike whatsoever.
So carbs are okay?
That was mind-blowing to me. So first off, I didn't feel bloated. So, and I'm sorry, when I had the bagel earlier, yes, I got bloated, but I didn't have the increased heart rate. So I had bloating with the bagel, no bloating, 0 symptoms with my homemade bun, no glucose spike. I didn't have to go for a walk. Should I have? Probably, but there was no need. And I could not wrap my head around the difference between the 2. I know that the ingredients in a store-bought bagel are just atrocious. But seeing it, experimenting it with my body, I just couldn't believe it.
It's
That
wild.
there's so many differences with the store-bought stuff versus now, I mean, can we even call this a whole food? The bun had 0 sugar, and it
Yours.
was all correct. My bun had 0 sugar, no sugar in my buns whatsoever, and it was clean, organic ingredients.
Yeah. And I think that's the bottom line is like there's more to it than just the macronutrient, right? There's more to all of this, to the insulin resistance, to the blood sugar regulation. It's not just about avoid all the carbs. And some of the videos that I'm starting to watch, like one of the ones I was watching today that I just couldn't wrap my head around, these 2 guys who are type 1 diabetics, and they talk about what the insulin resistance diet is. And they go into, and I'm not saying I'm getting into this yet. I'm just observing, right? I'm trying to understand where the other side is coming from.
Yeah.
But they give their science on how a plant-based diet is more beneficial for at least type 1 diabetics. They say for everybody, but they're mainly proving type 1 diabetics, and how they don't need as much insulin when they have 400 to 500 grams of carbs from plant-based versus when they were low carb doing the meats and eggs and everything. They were under 100 grams of carbs, and they cut down their insulin by 40% going plant-based. And I'm like, huh, okay. So I'm not going to negate it because I'm not dogmatic. I'm not going to be like, I want to hear what they have to say so I can make sure what I'm basing everything on for my life, for my clients, makes sense, right? But it's just interesting on that, and maybe it's something with his own body. I don't know.
And that's the thing, because I've dug into the research on type 1 as well, and some carnivores have completely decreased their insulin. Actually, I've got a friend of mine who has completely decreased his insulin, almost eliminated it. He is animal-based.
Mm.
He is strictly clean, nothing from the store. I think he allows a little sourdough, or is it fermented? But animal-based, and insulin is practically gone, and he's 40.
Wow.
So I think, like you said, it's bio-individualized.
Yeah, for sure.
But
But
what's fascinating about having 300, 400 grams of carbs and reducing insulin, because in our minds and what we've been told, it's the opposite.
yeah,
And maybe, depending on the carbs or the whole foods, excuse me, they're not the enemy.
right.
My bun is proof of that.
Yeah,
I expected another shoom.
right. I'm very curious to see what my stuff is looking like once I get the CGM, because there were times that I would have some. Last time I had a CGM, I think probably like 6 months ago or something, and some of the carbs I was eating, it was probably 30 to 40 point spike, but I would freak out about that. Even though I would tell other people don't worry about it, like for myself, it's harder when you got to tell yourself something.
Yeah.
So I would freak out and I'm, I gotta go, whatever. But now that I have experimented without the CGM and I can base it on how I feel, I just want to observe what those numbers look like with the foods I've been eating. So I can see like, well, what is it? Like my sleep has been fantastic. I've been getting over a score of 90. My heart rate's been great. Everything's,
Wow.
my heart rate's not where it needs to be, but it's always been that way for a long time. So there's lots of other factors that can play, but I know we're wrapping up on time and I can hear
We
my
can go on and on for hours
Yeah.
about this, as we have this week. So
Yeah.
hopefully you've gotten some insight. Once again, we are just experimenting. I'm not done experimenting. Jen's not done experimenting. We are learning and we are just going to share as we go because maybe it can help someone else. We might do another update in a few months. I'm excited to see what this does for my cycle. My cycle has been severely shortened, especially when my stress has gone up. So, how will carbs affect my stress, my cycle, my sleep? I'm excited to update you because I know a lot of you are following me also for my stress journey.
Yeah.
But
And then also, yeah, it's not just a one thing fix all. It's not just
no.
like you can't take one supplement and it fixes everything, right? Like this is just one piece of the whole, one piece of the puzzle, right? One piece of the whole picture.
Yes.
So you're not just only doing carbs to fix your fertility. There's a whole bunch of different things you're working on. I'm not only doing carbs to fix my adrenals. There's a whole host. Like I said, I've been working on gut health. So just keep that part in mind. Don't just say, oh, I'm eating carnivore and I'm going to add in the carbs. No, please don't do
There's
that.
got to be a reason
There's got to be a reason.
as well.
And there's strategy. So
Yeah.
one thing I forgot to say, I'll say it real quick, is if you up your carbs, you have to bring down the fat. You have to. It's a lever that goes like this. So you might have them like this at one point, but if you're keto right now and your fat's up here and your carbs here, it should be doing this, right? Like, well, because that's what standard American diet is. The things that are addicting and tasty are high in fat and high in carbs. So you don't want to bring both of them up. That's the lever. That's why some people who have high carb and low fat, that's why it works for them. The fat they're keeping low. So meaning if you're going to bring in the fruits and everything, don't be having all the ribeyes. Don't have bacon every day. Get some of the leaner cuts of meat. That doesn't mean it has to be chicken breast, but maybe sirloins, maybe leaner ground beef, maybe some ground turkey. Bring in some of those. And then if you do want to have ribeye or bacon some days, bring the carbs down. So it's just that balance. But just a little bit of advice, because I know there's going to be people saying, I brought in carbs. And I said, well, what's your fat intake look like? I don't know. I just brought the carbs in. No, that's not how it works. So needed to make sure I put that in there. That disclaimer, very important.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. It was super exciting. And yeah, stay tuned. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be coming out with one every Sunday. See you later.